Hi students, welcome to VTeach. VTeach is India's #1 platform for BTech students. We provide university-specific video lessons for all BTech branches. We also provide separate modules for campus recruitment such as TCS, Capgemini, Wipro, Infosys, etc. Please install our app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to solve numerical ability of TCS and QT. In the actual exam, the number of questions will be 26 and the time allotted is 40 minutes. The level of difficulty is on par with actual TCS exam. Please pay attention. This will be very useful for your exam. Now let us see the first question. An urn contains 6 red, 4 blue, 2 green, 3 and 3 yellow marbles. If 2 marbles are drawn at random from the urn, what is the probability that both are red? So, in a bag which contains the colors red, blue, green and yellow marbles, we should pick or we should draw only 2 marbles, that too which are of red color. So, our favorable events which we have to consider is picking up of 2 red marbles. So, out of the total marbles, we should only pick 2 red marbles. Now, first let us consider how many total marbles are there. Those are 6 plus 4 plus 2 plus 3, that is 6 red marbles, 4 blue, 2 green and 3 yellow marbles. So total you will be having 15 marbles. So out of these 15 balls, I should pick up only 2 balls, that is 15 C2. So out of these 15 balls, we should pick 2 balls. That too, those 2 balls should be of only this red color ball. So from these red color balls, we should pick only 2 balls, that is our favorable event. So out of the 6 red color balls, we should pick 2 balls, and out of the total balls, we will be picking 2 balls that to be of red color. Now the formula of probability is equal to number of favorable events by total number of events. So what is our favorable event? Picking up a red ball. Picking up 2 red balls, that is 6C2. So 6C2 divided by total number of events, that is 15C2. But we know the formula of NCR. So NCR is equal to n factorial by r factorial into n minus r factorial. First let us calculate 6C2. That is nothing but 6 factorial by 2 factorial into 6 minus 2 factorial. So that is 6 factorial by 2 factorial into 4 factorial. So I can write the 6 factorial as 6 into 5 into 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial into 4 factorial. 4 factorial gets cancelled. 2 factorial means 2, 1 time, 3 times. So you will be getting 15. Now let us calculate in the similar way 15C2. So 15C2 is equal to 15 factorial by 2 factorial into 15 minus 2 factorial. So this 15 factorial I am writing it as 15 into 14 into 13 factorial divided by 2 factorial into 15 minus 2, that is 13 factorial. Now this 13 factorial gets cancelled. 2 factorial is 2. So 1 time, 7 times, we will be getting 105. So 16C2 is 15 divided by 105. That is 1 time, 7 times. So 1 by 7 is our probability of picking up of 2 red balls out of the given number of balls. So our option is 1 by 7 is correct answer. See the next question. In how many different ways can the letter of the word offices be arranged? First, write down the word O, F, F, I, C, E, S. We can see that here F and F are repeating. So, whenever repetitions are there, what we will do? How many letters are repeating here? 2 letters are repeating. So, we will write after calculating the number of ways of arranging divided by the number of letter which is repeating. That is, simply say here 2 F's are repeating. So we will write divided by 2 factorial. If n times the particular letter is repeating, we will write divided by n factorial. Now, total how many letters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, total 7 letters are there. So, the number of ways of arranging is nothing but 7 factorial divided by how many letters are repeating? 2 F's are repeating. That is 2 F letters are repeating. So, write down divided by 2 factorial. That is equal to 7 into 6 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 divided by 2 into 1. So, that is nothing but equals to. So, the answer is 2520. So, option A is our correct answer. See the next question. In how many ways a committee consisting of 5 men and 6 women can be formed from 8 men and 10 women? So, a committee needs to be formed with total 5 men and 6 women. The total number of men available for us are 8 men. So, out of these 8 men, we should select only 5 men. And total number of women available for us are 10. So, out of these 10 men, we should select only 6 women. So, simply, the committee to be formed are 5 men and 6 women. So, out of these 8, select only 5 men into, and you should select 6 women. So, out of the total 10 women, select only 6 women. Okay. So, 10 is 6. Now, that is equals to 8 factorial by 5 factorial into 8 minus 5 factorial into 10 factorial divided by 6 factorial into 10 minus 6 factorial. That is nothing but 8 into 7 into 6 into 5 factorial divided by 5 factorial into 3 factorial. That is nothing but 3 into 2 into 1 into 10 factorial can be written as 10 into 9 into 8 into 7 into 6 factorial divided by 6 factorial into 10 minus 6. That is nothing but 4 factorial. So, 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Now, 5 factorial gets cancelled. 3 2s are 6. Here 6 factorial gets cancelled. 4 2s are 8 and 3 one time, here 3 times. So, the remaining are 8 5s are 56 into 10 3s 30 into 7 210. So, the answer will be 11760 ways. So, we can select 5 men and 6 women from 8 men and 10 women in 11,760 ways. So, option C is our correct answer. See the next question. In how many different ways can letters of the word transpiration be arranged so that the vowels always come together? So, all the vowels in this letter or all the vowels in this word should be a one unit. That means they all should come together, means those all vowels should be treated as one unit. First, let us write down the word transpiration. So, what are the vowels here? A, I, again A, again I, and also we have one vowel. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total 5 vowels are there. Out of them, A's are repeating and I's are also repeating. So, total these 5 vowels are treated as one unit. And the remaining letters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, these are 8 units and this total vowels considered as one unit. So, total we are having 9 units. So, these 9 units or 9 letters are permitted or arranged in 9 factorial ways. Okay. But these vowels may not be only in this order. They may be in A, I, O or A, I, A, O. They may be permutated in many number of ways. So, total 5 letters are there. So, we can rearrange them in again 5 factorial ways. Now, we have to remember another point here that 2 A's and 2 I's are repeating. So, divided by 2 factorial into 2 factorial. So, this is nothing but 9 factorial into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 divided by 2 factorial is nothing but 2. So 2 gets cancelled, 1 time 2 times. So this will be equals to 1360800. So option B will be our correct answer. See the next question here. A prime number n in the range of 11 to 50 remains unchanged when its digits are reversed. The square of such number is. So in between 10 to 50 there are certain prime numbers, but that prime number should be in such a way that when we are reversing the digits, the number should not change. So the prime number should be in such a way that even though if we reverse or interchange the places of the digits, the number should not be changed. So what are the prime numbers between such prime number between 10 and 50? That is only 11. So even though if we change the digits of 11, interchange them, we will get only 11 only. Consider other prime number between them 15. If we interchange the digits, we will get 51. So 15 is not equal to 51. So 11 is the only answer whose number after when interchanging the digits of the places, 11 is the only number where after interchanging the digits, the same number is obtained. So now such number is picked out and the square of such number should be obtained. So 11 square is nothing but 121. That is nothing but option B. The answer is very simple, but we should try to understand the question. It is somewhat a little bit tricky. That's it. But the answer, obtaining the answer is very simple. It will not take even more than 30 seconds. See the next question. If n minus 1 is an odd number, what are the two other odd numbers nearest to it? So they have given that n minus 1 is an odd number. So whenever we have an odd number, the number after and before will be even numbers, right? And the number after even number will be an odd number, and here also it will be an odd number. So we should find two other odd numbers nearest to it. So the only odd number nearest to it are this one and this one. Okay. Now n minus 1, next number after n minus 1, that is n minus 1 plus 1. It is nothing but n. The number before n minus 1, that is subtract 1 from the total number, that is n minus 2. Now we have to find out one number towards the left side of n minus 2. Again subtract 1 from it, we will get n minus 3. Here again add 1 to it, we will get simply n plus 1. So n plus 1 and n minus 1 are the nearest odd numbers for our given number n minus 1. So option C is our correct answer. See the next question. If 0.03 is x% of 0.3, then the value of x is. So 0.03 is x% of 0.3. So writing this equation is difficult. So many of you will write like 0.03 into x% will give 0.3. So this is not correct. 0.03 is, that is equal to x% of 0.3. Now 0.03 is equal to x% means x by 100 into 0.3. Take this 100 to the other side. X into 0.3 is equal to 0.03 into 100. So this value becomes, as there are two numbers after decimal places and we are multiplying with 100, it will become 3. X into 0.3 is equal to 3. That implies x is equal to 3 by 0.3. That is nothing but 1 time and 0.1 time. So x is equal to 1 by 0.1. Multiply and divide by 100. So we will get 10 is our answer. So the value of x is 10. That means 10% of 0.3 is 0.03. So option B is our correct answer. See the next question. In an examination, 35% candidates failed in one subject and 42 failed in another subject, while 15 failed in both the subjects. If 2,500 candidates appeared at the exam, how many passed in either subject but not in both? So total 2,500 candidates have appeared the exam. 35% of them failed in one subject and 42% of them failed in another subject and 15% of them failed in all the subjects. Now, we have to find out the number of students passed in either examinations but not both. That means the student should pass either in first examination or second examination, but they should not pass in both the examinations. So, first what we will do is, first we will find out the number of students who have failed in first examination. Later, number of students who have failed in second examination. So, and also we will find out number of students who have failed in both the examinations. So, out of them, if we subtract 1 minus 3, number of students who have passed in first examination minus who have passed in both the examinations, what we will get? We will get the number of students who have passed only the first examination. Similarly, 2 minus 3 also we will do. So, then we will get the number of students who have passed only in the second examination. So, from them, we will subtract from the total number of students. So, we will get the number of students who have passed either in one of the subjects. First, let us find out 35% of them failed in first subject. So, out of 2500 students, only 35% have failed in first subject. So, this is equals to 875. So, number of students who have failed in second one is 42%. So, this is regarding first subject, this is regarding second subject. Out of 2500 students, 42%, that is 42 by 100, have failed in second subject. So, 25 into 42 is equals to 1050. Now, the students who have failed in both the examinations are 15%. So, 15 by 100 into out of 2500 students. So, that is equals to 375. Now, if I subtract 375 from this 875, I will get the students who have failed only in the first subject. So, students who have failed only in first subject are 875 minus 375. Those are 500 students. And students who have failed only in second subject are 1050 minus 375. That is equals to 675. So, students who have failed in first subject means they have passed in the second examination. So, 500 plus students who have failed in second examination means they have passed in first examination, that is 675. So, total 7511. So, 1175 students have passed in both the subjects. That is option B is our correct answer. See the next question. The average of 80 boys in a class is 15. The average age of a group of 15 boys in a class is 16 and the average of another 25 boys in the class is 14. What is the average of the remaining boys in the class? So, the total age of all the 80 boys is 80 into 15. Now, the average age of a group of 15 boys is 16. So, for 15 boys, the average age is 16. So, the total age of all the 15 boys is 15 into 16. Next, the average age of another 25 boys is 14. So, the total age of all the 25 boys is 25 into 14. Now, what is the average age of the remaining boys in the class? So, out of 80, we have known the total age of 15 boys and 25 boys. So, we have to find out the average age of the remaining boys. So, let the average age of the remaining boys be X. So, we will subtract from this total number of ages minus the total age of this 15 boys and the total age of this 25 boys. So, minus 15 into 16 minus 25 into 14. So, we have to find the average. So, this is the total age of the remaining boys. For average, divide it by total number of remaining boys. So, how many boys are remaining? 80 out of 18. We have calculated the average age of 16 boys. So, minus 15. And we also have known the average age of other 25 boys. So, minus 25. So, that is equals to, so 1200 minus 240 minus 350 by 40. That is equals to 610 divided by 40. So, it is equals to 15.25. So, the average age of the remaining boys is nothing but 15.25. So option C is our correct answer. See the next question. If the average of m numbers is n square and that of n numbers is m square, the average of m plus n numbers is. So first they are given the average of m numbers is n square. So what will be the formula? Sum of m numbers divided by total number of numbers, that is nothing but m, is equal to n square. So that implies sum of m numbers is nothing but m into n square, that is mn square. So this is our regarding to our first condition. Next one they have given that the average of n numbers is m square. So average of n numbers is m square. That means sum of n numbers divided by n is equal to m square. So sum of n numbers is equal to n into m square. Now we have to find out the average of m plus n numbers. So the formula will be sum of m plus n numbers divided by m plus n. So we can rewrite it as sum of m numbers plus sum of n numbers divided by m plus n. We have already know the sum of m numbers, that is mn square, and we also know the sum of n numbers, that is nm square. So substitute it in the formula. So this becomes mn square plus nm square divided by m plus n. So here from these both terms I can take m into n as common. So m into n, if I take it as common, the first term will be only n will be remaining, and in the second term only m will be remaining, divided by m plus n. M plus n gets cancelled and the answer is m into n. So the average of m plus n terms is nothing but mn. So m into n, option B is our correct answer. See the next question. Mohan bought 20 dining tables for rupees 12,000 and sold them at a profit equal to the selling price of 4 dining tables. The selling price of one dining table is. So total he bought 20 dining tables for 1200 rupees. So cost price of 20 dining tables is 12,000 rupees. Now he sold them at a profit which is equals to the selling price of 4 dining tables. So profit is equals to selling price of 4 dining tables. Now what is the formula of profit? Profit is equals to SP minus CP. So now profit is nothing but selling price of 4 dining tables. That is equals to selling price of 20 dining tables minus cost price of 20 dining tables. So the cost price of 20 dining tables is 12,000. So substitute it. So same, a selling price of 4 dining tables is equal to selling price of 20 dining tables minus 12,000. So take this 12,000 to the left hand side and bring this selling price of 4 dining tables to the right hand side. So we will get 12,000 is equal to selling price of 20 dining tables minus selling price of 4 dining tables. So 12,000 is equal to selling price of 16 dining tables. So for 16 dining tables the selling price is 12,000. So for one dining table the selling price is equal to 1 by 16 into 12,000. That is equals to 750 rupees. So each dining table he has sold for rupees 750 rupees. So option C is our correct answer. See the next question. If an article with market price of rupees 400 is sold at successive discounts of 10%, 25% and 15%, what is the approximate price the customer has to pay? So he has to pay after reducing the discounts 100 minus 15% of 100 minus 25% of, and next discount is 10%. So 100 minus 10% of the total price of the article 400. Now 100 minus 15 means 85% off, 75% off, 90% off, 400. That is the price of the article. So 85 by 100 into 75 by 100 into 90 by 100 into 400. So this will be equal to 229.9 rupees. That is approximately equal to 230 rupees. So after the discount, he should pay only 230 rupees as the price. So option A is our correct answer. See the next question. A pump can fill a tank in 2 hours. Because of the leak, it took 1/3 hour to fill the tank. The leak can drain all the water of the tank in how many hours? So first the pump can fill the whole tank in 2 hours. So for 1 hour it can fill, that is it can do 1/2 of the work, or it can fill half of the tank. So because of the leak it will take 2 1/3 hours, that is nothing but 7/3 hours to fill the tank. So when we exclude the leak, we can write it as the tank will fill in 1/2 minus reciprocal of 7/3, that is 3/7 hours. That is nothing but equals to, take the LCM as 14, 7 minus 3 into 2, that is 7 minus 6 by 14. That is nothing but equals to 1/14. So per hour it will fill 1/14th of the tank. So it takes totally 14 hours, that is reverse of 1/14, 14 hours to fill the whole tank. So option D is our correct answer. So we got here 1/14. So 1/14th part of the tank will drain in 1 hour. So total for the tank to drain fully, it will take 14 hours. So option D is our correct answer. See the next question. The ratios of income of A and B are in the ratio of 3:4. The ratio of their expenditure is 4:5. Find the ratio of their savings if the savings of A is 1/4 of his income. So first they have given the incomes of A is to B is 3:4. So let us take the income of A will be 3x and income of B will be 4x. Similarly, expenditure of A is to B is given as 4:5. So expenditure of A will be 4y and expenditure of B will be 5y. They also have given the savings of A is 1/4 of his income. So what will be the savings? Savings is nothing but income minus expenditure. So the income of A is 3x minus his expenditure is 4y. So this is nothing but the savings of A. So the savings of A is equal to 1/4 of his income. So the calculated savings should be equal to 1/4 of his income. What is his total income? 3x. So 1/4 of 3x. So that implies 3x minus 4y into 4 is equal to 3x. That is equal to 4 3s are 12x minus 4 4s are 16y is equal to 3x. Take this 3 to the other side, we will get 12 minus 3x is equal to, take 16y to the right hand side, we will get plus 16y. So 12x minus 3x is equal to 9x is equal to 16y. That implies y is equal to 9x by 16. So this is our y value. Now we have to find out the ratio of savings of A and B. Ratio of their savings. Whose savings? A and B. So now savings of A by savings of B. So the savings of A are nothing but 3x minus 4y and the savings of B are 4x minus 5y. That is equal to 3x minus, we have found out the value of y, that is 9x by 16. Substitute it. Similarly here also 4x minus 5 into 9x by 16. That is equals to, take 16 as LCM, 48x minus 9 4s are 36x divided by 16 fourths, 64x minus 9 5s are 45x. So that is equals to 12 by 19. X will get cancelled, so we will get 12 by 19. So savings of A is to savings of B is nothing but equals to 12 is to 19. So here option B is our correct answer. So see the next question. In a proportion, the product of first and fourth terms is 40. So first and fourth terms, product means nothing but multiplication of first and fourth terms is 40. So T1 into T4 is equal to 40. And the product of second term and the third term is 2.5x. Then what is the value of x? So total there are 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. We know a formula that product of extremes is equal to product of intremes. Extremes means the one which are on the outer side. Intremes means the terms which are in the inside. So the product of term 1 into term 4 should be equals to the product of term 2 into term 3. We already knew the product of term 1 into term 4, that is 40 is equal to product of term 2 into term 3 is equal to 2.5. So simply x is equal to 40 by 2.5. That is equal to 16. So option A 16 is our correct answer. See the next problem. Seema and Meena divide a sum of 25,000 rupees in the ratio of 3:2 respectively. If rupees 5,000 is added to each of their shares, what would be the new ratio formed? So first Seema and Meena divide the sum of 2,500 in the ratio of 3:2. So the amount obtained by Seema will be amount obtained by Seema is nothing but the part of the Seema, that is 3 by total number of parts 3 plus 2. So 5 into total amount 25,000 rupees. So 1 time 5,000 rupees. So Seema got a share of 15,000 rupees. So the remaining, that is nothing but 25,000 minus 15,000. We can simply write the amount obtained by Meena is nothing but 10,000 rupees. Otherwise, you can calculate in the same way. 2 by 5 into 25,000. 5,000, that is nothing but equals to 10,000 rupees. Now, for each of them 5,000 rupees is again added. So 15,000 plus 5,000, 10,000 plus 5,000. So the new amounts are 20,000 divided by 15,000. So this is Seema's amount and this is Meena's amount. Now the ratio means divide those two amounts of both of the people. So 20,000 divided by 15,000, nothing but 3 times 4 times 4 by 3, that is nothing but equals to 4:3. So the new ratio formed is nothing but option D is our correct answer, that is 4:3. See the next question. The value of 2 power 3x plus 4 plus 8 power x plus 1 divided by 8 power x plus 1 minus 2 power 3x plus 2. So I am writing the equation 2 power 3x plus 4 plus 8 power x plus 1 divided by 8 power x plus 1 minus 2 power 3x plus 2. We can rewrite this 8 as 2 cube. So 2 power 3x plus 4 plus 8 can be written as 2 cube into power x plus 1. So write it as it is, divided by 8 can be rewritten as 2 cube into x plus 1 minus 2 power 3x plus 2. So 2 power 3x plus 4 plus 3 into x, 3x, 3 into 1, 3, divided by 2 power 3 into x, 3x plus 3 into 3, 3 into 1, 3, minus 2 power 3x plus 2. Now I am rewriting it as 2 power 3x plus 3 plus 1. So I am writing this 4 as 3 plus 1. Here 2 power 3x plus 3. Because I have here 3x plus 3, so I am writing it in the form of 3x plus 3 plus 1 divided by 2 power 3x plus 2 plus 1 because I am having here 3x plus 2 minus 2 power 3x plus 2. We have a formula a power m plus n is equal to a power m into a power n. So I am splitting this, I am considering this 3x plus 3 as m and this 1 as n. Similarly here also I am treating 3x plus 2 as m and this as 1 as n. So it becomes 2 power 3x plus 3 into 2 power 1 plus 2 power 3x plus 3 divided by 2 power 3x plus 2 into 2 power 1 minus 2 power 3x plus 2. Now this becomes, here we have 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3 as common. So take these two terms as common, take the term as common, we will get 2 power 3x plus 3 and in the brackets we will be having 2 plus 1 divided by, here also we have the term 2 power 3x plus 2 as common. So 2 power 3x plus 2 into, here we are having 2 minus 1. So this is nothing but 2 plus 1 is 3 into 2 power 3x plus 3 divided by 2 minus 1 is 1. So 1 into 2 power 3x plus 2. So that is equals to 3 into, here this is of the form of a power m by a power n, that is nothing but a power m minus n. So I am writing it as 2 power 3x plus 3 minus of 3x plus 2, that is equals to 3 into 2 power 3x plus 3 minus 3x plus into minus 2. So that equals to 3 into 2 power 3x, 3x get cancelled, 3 minus 2, that is equals to 1. So 3 into 2 it is nothing but equals to 6. So 6 is our answer. So option D, 6 is our answer. See the next question. A lent rupees 5,000 to B for 2 years and 3,000 rupees to C for 4 years on simple interest at the same rate of interest and received rupees 2,200 in all from both of them as interest. The rate of interest per annum is. So first A lent to B a amount of 5,000 rupees, that too for 2 years. Next A lent to C an amount of 3,000 rupees for 4 years. That too he given it on simple interest and the rate of interest is also same. So here the rate of interest is R and here also the rate of interest is R. And he received an amount of 2,200 rupees from both of them as interest. So what will be the rate of interest? So now we should find this R value. So now the simple interest of B is nothing but, simple interest formula is SI is equals to PNR by 100. P is nothing but the principal amount, R is rate of interest, N is the number of years. Okay. So now principal amount, what is the principal amount of B? 5,000 into time period, N is equals to 2 years, rate of interest is capital R by 100 and let us calculate the simple interest for C. That is the principal amount is equals to 3,000 rupees into number of years, that is N is equals to 4 years into rate of interest is R divided by 100. Now add these both values. So if we add these both simple interest, we should get the sum should be equal to 2,200 because it is specified in the question. He received an amount of 2,200 rupees in all from both of them. So the interest from both of them he got as 2,200 rupees. So now add the simple interest of B plus simple interest of C. It should be equal to 2,200 rupees. Calculate the value. 100 gets cancelled here and here. So we will get here 100 R plus 3 4s are 12. 120 R is equal to 2,200 rupees. We can also cancel these zeros. So we will get 22 R is equal to 220. This is 1 time, 10 times. So R is equals to 10. That is 10% interest. So option D is our correct answer. So the rate of interest per annum is 10%. So see the next question. A sum of money at compound interest doubles itself in 15 years. It will become 8 times of itself in. So first they have given that a sum of money at compound interest doubles itself in 15 years. So compound interest formula is equals to P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n, where n is the number of years, R is the rate of interest and P is the principal amount. This principal interest got doubled in 15 years. So n is equals to 15. So now compound interest is equals to principal amount is P 1 plus R by 100 whole power 15. So in 15 years what will be the amount? It will double. So it will become twice. So 2 into P. Okay. Now P gets cancelled. So we will get 1 plus R by 100 whole power 15 is equals to 2. Let it be equation number 1. They asked us to find out in how many years it will become, the principal amount will become 8 times. So now I am considering same P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n. It should become 8 times of the principal amount. So 8 into P. PP gets cancelled. 1 plus R by 100 whole power n is equal to 8. We can write 8 as 2 cube. But what is the value of 2? Instead of 2, what can we rewrite it? We can rewrite 2 as 1 plus R by 100 whole power 15. So 1 plus R by 100 whole power n is equal to, instead of 2 I am writing 1 plus R by 100 whole power 15 whole cube. Okay. Now this will be equal to 1 plus R by 100 whole power n is equal to 1 plus R by 100 whole power 45. As bases are equal, we can directly equate the power. So n is equals to 45 years. So in 45 years, the principal amount will become 8 times of the original principal amount. So option A is our correct answer. See the next question. The areas of two similar triangles are 12 cm square and 48 cm square. If the height of the smaller one is 2.1, then the corresponding height of the bigger one is. So the area of the similar triangles will be proportional to the square of the altitude. So here we have two triangles. So A1 by A2 will be equals to, altitude is represented as h, that is nothing but height, h1 square by h2 square. So the first triangle's area is 12 divided by 48 is equal to height of the smaller triangle, that is regarding to the triangle which has area 12 cm square. 2.1 whole square divided by the height of the bigger triangle, that is unknown, so x square. 1 time, 4 times. So that implies x square is equals to 2.1 whole square, that is 4.41 into 4. That implies x is equals to square root of 4.41 into 4, that is nothing but 2.1 into 2. That implies x is equals to 4.2 centimeters. So the altitude of the bigger triangle is 4.2 centimeters. So option B is our correct answer. See the next question. The perimeter of a square is 48 centimeters. The area of the rectangle is 4 centimeters square less than the area of the square. If the length of the rectangle is 14 centimeters, then its perimeter is. This particular question is very easy, but we will find it difficult because of a number of dependings of one equation on another. First, what they have given? They have given the perimeter of the square. Perimeter of the square is nothing but 4a. So it is equals to 48 centimeters, where a is the side of the square, that should be equals to 48 by 4, that is equals to 12 centimeters. So we have got the side of the square. Now in the second condition, they have given area of the rectangle is 4 centimeters square less than the area of the square. Now we already know the side of the square. So area of the square is equals to a square, that is equal to 12 square. So that is equals to 144 centimeter square. Now area of the rectangle is 4 less than the area of the square. So area of the rectangle is equals to 144 minus 4, that is equal to 140 centimeter square. Next, given the length of the rectangle as 14, find the perimeter of the rectangle. Now area of the rectangle is equal to L into B, that is length into breadth. Already we know the value of the length, that is nothing but equals to 14. So 14 into B is equals to area of the rectangle, that is area of the rectangle is 140. So B is equals to 140 divided by 14, that is equals to 10 centimeters. Okay. Now we have to find the perimeter of this particular rectangle. So perimeter is equal to 2 into L plus B. So 2 into 14 plus 10, that is equals to 2 into 24. So that is equals to 48 centimeters. So option B, 48 centimeters is our correct answer. See the next question here. A can do a piece of work in 4 hours. B and C together can do in 3 hours. A and C together in 2 hours. How long will B alone take to do it? So first of all, write it, the given information in the form of equations. So they given A can do a piece of work in 4 hours. Since A can do a piece of work in 4 hours, so per hour A can do 1/4 of the work. So in 1 hour A can do 1/4 of the total work. Similarly, B and C together can do in 3 hours. So again in 1 hour B plus C, that is B and C can do 1/3 of the total work. Similarly, in 1 hour A and C can do 1/2 of the total work. Now we have to find out how long it will take for B alone to do the work. First I am adding all these 3 equations. So A plus B plus C plus A plus C is equal to 1/4 plus 1/3 plus 1/2. So 2A plus B plus 2C is equal to LCM of 4, 3 and 2. 2 times 3, 1. 4, 3 is 12. So 12 divided by 12 into 12 divided by 4, 3 plus 12 divided by 3, 4 plus 12 divided by 2, 6. That is equals to 13/12. From this equation, I want only the work done by B. So I am subtracting 2 times of the third equation with the fourth equation. So let this be equation number 1, let this be equation number 2, so let this be equation number 3 and let this be equation number 4. So I am doing third equation into 2 minus fourth equation. So we can do fourth equation minus 2 times of third equation. So it will become 2A plus B plus 2C is equal to 13/12. 2 times of third equation. 2A plus 2C is equals to 2/2, that is equal to 1. So if I subtract 2A, 2C gets cancelled, B is equals to 13/12 minus 1, that is equals to 1/12. So B can do 1/12 of the work in 1 hour. So total he will take 12 hours to complete the given work. So option C is our correct answer. See the next question. The speeds of A and B are in the ratio of 3:3. A takes 20 minutes more than B to reach the destination. In what time does A reach the destination? So here given the speeds of A and B are in the ratio of 3:4. So the speeds of A is to B is 3:4. As the speed is inversely proportional to time, the time taken by A is to B will be 4:3. Now the time taken by A, let it be 4x, and the time taken by B, let it be 3x. Now they have given that A takes 20 minutes more than B. So we can say that time taken by A is equal to 20 minutes more than time taken by B. So the time taken by A is 4x is equal to 20 plus time taken by B is 3x. So bring 3x to the left hand side. 4x minus 3x is equal to 20. That implies x is equal to 20 minutes. Now they asked us to find the time taken by A to reach the destination. So time taken by A is nothing but 4x. So 4 into 20, that is equals to 80 minutes is the time taken by A. But in the options they have given it in the form of hours. So 80 divided by 60, because per hour we have 60 minutes. So 4, 3, that is nothing but equals to 1 by 3 hours. So in 1 by 3 hours A can reach the destination. So option A is our correct answer. See the next question. What is the sum of first 7 terms of the series 1 by 3, 1 by 2, 3 by 4? Since we can observe that first term is 1 by 3, second term is 1 by 2, third term is 3 by 4. Consider A2 by A1, that is equal to 1 by 2 divided by 1 by 3, that is 3 by 2. Now consider A3 by A2, that is 3 by 4 divided by 1 by 2. Again 3 by 2. So the ratio of the consecutive terms is equal. So we can say the terms are in GP, that is geometric progression. So the given series is in the form of GP. They asked us to find the sum of first 7 terms. So Sn formula is equal to A into R power n minus 1 divided by R minus 1. Here R is nothing but the common ratio, that is 3 by 2. A is the first term, that is 1 by 3, and n is nothing but the 7, because in the question they have given to find the sum up to 7 terms. So the total n value should be equal to 7. So that is equal to 1 by 3 into 3 by 2 whole power 7 minus 1 divided by 3 by 2 minus 1. So that is equal to 3 by 2 into 3 by 2 whole power 7 minus 1 divided by 3 minus 2 by 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. So that is equal to 1 by 3 into 3 by 2 whole power 7 minus 1. 3 minus 2. So 1 by 2. Denominator will become numerator. So it will transform into 2 by 3. 3 by 2 whole power 7 minus 1. So this is nothing but 2 by 3 into 3 power 7 minus 2 power 7 by 2 power 7. So upon calculating this answer we will get 2050 by 192. So option B is our correct answer. See the next question. Insert 3 terms between 2 and 18 if they are in AP. So in between 2 and 18 we should insert 3 terms. So let them be T1, T2, T3. So total number of terms here are 5. So they also given that they are in AP. So the first term A is equal to 2, last term AN is equal to 18. So AN is equal to, the general formula is A plus N minus 1 into D. Here AN is nothing but the last term, that is A5, fifth term. So A5 is equal to A plus, in place of N write down 5. 5 minus 1 into D. We also know the value of A, that is 2. So A5 is 18. 18 is equal to 2 plus 4D. That implies 18 minus 2 equal to 4D. 4D is equal to 16. D is equal to 16 by 4. So we got total D value, the common difference is equal to 4. So the common difference D is equal to 4 and the first term A is equal to 2. Now we should find out T1, T2, T3, that is the second term. If we add the common difference to the first term, we will get the second term. So the first term is 2. 2 plus common difference 4 is equal to 6. 6 plus 4 equal to 10. 10 plus 4, 14. 4 plus 4, 18. So the three terms in between of 2 and 18 are 6, 10 and 14. So option D is our correct answer. This ends our 26 questions on aptitude. I hope you all understood, students. Thank you.